Yeah, I'm gonna hit these unmute buttons.
Now we're on time.
Yeah,
well,
now we're properly.
not
because
live.
we spent 9 minutes.
You might want to go live first, unless. Hold on, let me double check.
We are live.
Hello, welcome.
I've been top screen for a little while.
Why does this happen? Why does this happen sometimes?
It happens to me a lot on Twitch as well, where I'm on a page and it just says it's not live, despite being live.
Yeah, look, we actually just spent like 9 minutes discussing the Hobbit movie.
Hey, it's not Children of Wrath level 30 minutes of nonsense.
Yeah.
No, because like what made me realize we were live is because I saw that there was the live counter and like the view counter at the bottom, which doesn't show up if you're not live. But I'm like, wait a second, why aren't I seeing video?
Anyway. Yeah, sometimes it's just refresh Twitch, honestly.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, welcome. It's Discussing Tabletop, and of course, it is April 27th. We're right about done April, about a third of the way done the year. That's kind of exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah, I'm saying like 2024, honestly, kind of fine. Kind of fine so far.
Closer and closer to June when I have stuff going on.
Hopefully it'll be good stuff, because then it'll just be more fine to good.
Very positive things.
See, it's just it's been a last couple of years. Having one that's kind of like this is fun. But
I feel like last year wasn't too bad.
Last year was like, well, everyone knows what happened to me last year.
I had a lot of
oh boy,
emotional up and downs last year for me in my mindset, so that didn't help me much. But I think overall worldly, it was fun. But I think
Yeah.
Anyway, I put a docket into chat or down below if you are checking it there. We've got a bunch of things to talk about today, some interesting ones. And then we've got a deeper discussion topic I've already chosen, because it came up because when we were talking about stuff for my Wednesday game, because I've got to be honest, I would agree, it would have been much better if Theater of the Mind, but it wouldn't have worked for the audience.
No.
So it was like a situation where Theater of the Mind would have been better for the players, but I'm on stream, so I have to try to fuck around with the math. Oh god!
It would have been fine if Roll20 was a better program.
But we'll talk about
ways. There are ways to
do it. Get to it.
We'll talk about it. But yeah. How are you two doing? How has the back end of your week's been?
I got a new job, so it's going pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been weirdly tired all week, and I'm still a little tired, but it's just like I don't know. It's just like my body shut down, and I'm just like I don't want to do things.
My week has been a weird one. I got a new job, and then Bethesda released an update and nuked every Fallout 4 mod, so that's kind of ruined my time. I put out a bunch of my free time to play Fallout London, which didn't come out because all the mods broke.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go Bethesda.
Thanks for the next gen update, Bethesda doesn't do anything on PC.
Except break mods. You think they did that because Fallout London was coming out?
No, they did that because of the Fallout TV show. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's why they timed it that way.
It just so happened.
Yep.
It nuked every infrastructure mod for Fallout 4.
Anyway. Why don't we dive into our topics, our news topics for this week, and then we can get to the deep discussion topics and stuff like that. So there were 2 releases related to.
Did see these cool releases.
First off, the big one that is out now, and I will link to the product, is the TNZ.
I'm so excited for this book. I love TNZ.
You might be saying it.
Yeah, I'm actually.
I believe it is TNZ. Yes. I loved this. I loved this setting so much in first edition.
There was a lot of cool aspects.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of cool aspects of this, and we've known a little bit about it. And this is the thing: is I really like when we get these books that just give us a lot of information on these areas and expand upon them and breathe life into it. Because I gotta be honest, as soon as I start reading up on a nation or something, and you see some of this stuff, you're like, wow, this stuff is just they come up with some crazy shit ideas, and so I'm looking forward to the crazy shit ideas that come up for Canada. So yeah.
I like the dragon riding along the boats in the cover.
Very good. It's a good book cover.
There's also going to be a player's guide coming out later this year, so that's probably going to be more ancestries, classes, and kind of stuff related to the TNZI world. But for now, this is world setting stuff. So if you're interested in running adventures there, I guess that's the big thing. Running adventures there, or running adventures that could travel there, that might be a good idea to check. The other release, which I'll give the blog post of it, the links to it, is they've got the new player's guide for the adventure path that's coming up. Now, this isn't the adventure path that's the all-in-one, that's the kind of anniversary one. This is the actual new one that they're going to be doing. It's got 6 new character backgrounds for it, some advice for characters, of course, and it is basically dealing with the Wildwood area in Taldor.
Yeah, it's the big forest in the Shining Kingdoms.
Yeah, which kind of splits between a bunch of different Shining Kingdoms, and stuff's happening there, and you're getting involved in it. Woo!
Druid stuff.
Mm-hmm. You might not be druids, but you're dealing with druids.
Yep.
Probably having a druid in your party would be great. Not necessary.
Most likely, Druid is 100. Druid and Ranger are definitely on the you should probably have one of these, but we're not going to make you play one.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there'll be they've been doing it's a 3 adventure path. They've been doing these for a while now. It's a lot better, I think.
Yes,
for
they have
mechanic. It's so much better for their storytelling.
Reading the player's guide, and this is something I find interesting. Knowing nothing about this adventure, strongly recommended. Druid Ranger makes sense. Kineticist. They strongly recommend Kineticist for this adventure.
Probably because the newer Kineticist they're doing deals a lot more with natural.
Yeah, I don't know anything about new Kineticist.
It's probably got a little bit of the old Kineticist, but flavor-wise, it might deal a lot more with the prime powers.
Interestingly enough, there are no not recommended classes for this one. Everything is appropriate. The only unappropriate thing is undead ancestries, because the Green Faith doesn't like undead.
Yeah. So certainly speaking, it's probably not a good idea to go that direction. But,
strongly recommended ancestry, awakened animal.
That's a thing? Alright, hold on.
Yeah, that's a new. I think that's very recent.
Yeah. I have to check the stats. Well, there still are an uncommon or rare ancestor, but they're one that this would definitely be here.
Make a lot of sense for you to play this in this adventure.
Mm-hmm. This is they're like, hey, this is an area where there's an opportunity to actually play it because it makes sense here. Because they're in the same.
Play an awakened raccoon.
Let's see.
Yeah, what book
is spell? It says HOTW. Not sure what book.
I mean, also having the Konrasu, the Gorons, Centaurs, Beastkins, all.
Out of the Wild. Oh, it's a big druid book. Okay, yeah, this one wasn't really talked about. Out of the Wild. It's a book that came out this year. It's coming out actually.
Oh,
next month.
Okay, that might be why I can't find anything about it right now. Okay.
Will include were creatures, playable were creatures.
Well,
okay.
I think that's because that's expansion on the Beastkin.
Yeah, it's a lot of expansion on Beastkin and such.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Yeah.
Paizo released a lot of books. It's hard to keep track of them.
They do. They've definitely been continuing to churn through their normal level.
This has been slower, at least, than Oney's was.
Oney definitely had a lot more product on it. I think what it is, they're doing a lot more of these larger books.
Yeah, they're not doing the smaller pamphlet kind of books that they did for Oney.
Yeah. So I think that's both. Yes, you're probably getting like material slower, but I think it's better in the end.
I think it's higher quality material because a lot of one-y stuff is just chuff.
Yeah, I think with the bigger books they have time to kind of think about it. So I definitely think it's a good thing. And
I do find it interesting that they're recommending a race that you can't actually be yet.
I assume that these will release around. They might have the race might be in this book.
The first book, the first book is already.
The race might be in this book.
They might have it in that book, and they might just expand upon it in the other stuff.
It's hard to say without the book in front of me.
Yeah, but nonetheless, if you are interested in any of these things, definitely start checking them out. The adventure path seems like an interesting one, as they've been doing their stories, and of course the things is really cool and definitely something I've been
kind of like that TUI makes their adventure pass 3 books instead of 6.
So much better.
It's a lot nicer.
It just cuts the chuff out of the adventure pass so much.
Yeah, not all of them, and I think you can do a full epic campaign, but
yeah, it's nice that they've cut the standard down though for their adventure pass because not everything needs to be mega high level, and sometimes mega high level Pathfinder is a bit rough.
I mean, I think they still like if they want to do a high level, they do an adventure path that's set around that.
Yeah,
they do have but they do have like 3 ones that are just high level.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that they're doing more variations on the ranges of levels.
Good.
Yeah, because they're not just doing some are like they're high level campaigns, some are low level campaigns. I think the interesting thing too is you can then take a low level campaign and a high level campaign and just play one and then the other. So like you can still, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So there's like ways to mix and match adventure paths instead of having it all at the same time, or having all big world-ending events that need to be. I
mean, it's sort of
last
like
a long time.
We still have a couple of like world-ending events that happen here and now, but there's a lot less of them, and it's just more like there's a problem in this region that could cause significant changes. Okay, deal with it. It's in the region. That's it. Yeah. Paizo, good direction.
I think they also just kind of changed a little bit about like how how godlike high level characters are in 2nd edition as well, which helps.
Yeah.
Like they're still powerful, but they're not like by definition godly,
Yeah. I mean, I think that the next big storyline is going to be the one where God dies.
Yeah, that's going to transfer to much more.
And that's going to have the mythic stuff as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Like, mythic, I liked it, but also it was very annoying in 1st edition, so I feel like it has potential, but I'm going to wait and see how they do it in 2nd edition.
2E is a lot simpler of a system, and it's been doing it, and so in my opinion, it's a lot better, so.
Hopefully. But, so... we can chat about this for a while, but we should probably hit our other topics.
Okay.
Unless you have something else to add in there.
No, I was just gonna say some things about Mythic, but we can move on.
Mythic we'll have to talk about when it comes up.
Yeah, I'll have to read those rules before I get mad about them.
So this is an interesting one, which this is a game that Richard Garfield made, so from the creators of Magic, Mindbug, and they're having a TCG Invitational. So they're inviting top players from Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, Pokemon Snap, or Marvel Snap, Runeterra, Digimon, Keyforge, all to participate in a event using this game.
It's a large smattering of card games, and some of which are not. Marvel Snap isn't really a trading card game. It's a card game, but it's not really a trading card game.
I know. It's on the list. I'm just going by it. They're going to broadcast...
Digimon card game.
It's being broadcast today.
Oh, fancy.
A little later on today. As of the 27th when this is live. On YouTube at 8 p.m. CET. That's Central...
What was the...
It's not Central European time.
Oh, so it's already probably happening. Or happened. God.
It is... I think it's...
Might be in the
happening
middle of it.
soon. I think it's definitely happening now because my partner is on Central European time.
11 a.m. my
It is
time.
currently
which is,
live
yeah,
on
yes.
Nerd Lab Games YouTube channel. Started streaming 4 hours ago. I'm not gonna press live on the stream, but I can link to it.
Yeah.
Picture in
watch
picture.
the VOD.
Look, I don't know about a lot of Mindbug. It's another game by Richard Garfield. He does a lot of game work nowadays, so there's a lot of different things. It's an interesting idea of, hey, I've got this game. I'm going to have a big old tournament and invite a bunch of people from a lot of the other bigger TCGs to play it. It's an interesting concept.
It's good marketing.
Yeah. So, I think that's the best thing I can say about it right now. You can always check out stuff on Mindbug. I linked the thing there. Let me actually link not the broadcast, but the channel. So if you want to go back and watch the live.
Yeah, I unfortunately do not know anything about Mindbug.
I don't know either.
I heard about it, but there wasn't a lot about it.
I heard about it in the sense that it exists.
Yeah, that's about it for me too. So that's I also linked in I'll link in the description and then link in the live chat here, the Nerd Labs YouTube channel. So you can always check out the vlog afterwards. It was an interesting idea. Wanted to mention it. Seems like a cool kind of thing to do. But other than that, I don't know if there's much else to say other than this is a strange idea, and it's probably you're right. It's probably good marketing.
It is definitely good marketing.
Pay probably a little bit of money and then some rewards to a bunch of people to play a game for a little while and on YouTube, and then probably that's better marketing in a lot of ways than some of the other things you could do, especially tabletop games. So Unexpected Games, moving on, is doing a Mandalorian adventure. So I think it was the first Star Wars board game they've got set on the newer stuff, the actual newer stuff.
Let me double check that.
I haven't seen a lot. If they've had stuff, I don't remember it.
I'm checking the list of Star Wars board games.
I'm sure they could have had some from the latest trilogy, but also
do not. I know that there was. I mean, if there's a Star Wars Rebellion technically came out, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the Disney stuff. It's original trilogy, right?
Yeah, that's why a lot of stuff just seems to be either the original trilogy stuff or
no one likes the sequel. No one likes the sequel.
There wasn't it's sort of I always feel disappointed, less because of I just really truly dislike it, because there was some pretty decent things that happened in the sequel trilogies, and also there was a core aspect of some of the ideas which were fine, but also I feel the disparation of directors and then tones between the movies is the most jarring thing. If it would establish a tone very early on and kept with it, I think that would have been fine, and we would have had less complaints about shit.
They didn't reset every character in each movie, it would have been a lot better.
Yes!
But they just kind of your character growth is gone, do it again.
Oh, yeah.
And then I never finished the last movie because I didn't care at that point.
It's not good. We had to rely on Fortnite. Can't tell us anything.
Oh, yeah. The fucking Fortnite announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
and
Mandalorian.
I want to say at that point, I wasn't planning on seeing it, but I'm I was playing Fortnite at the time. I'm might as well join. You couldn't.
Nope.
It was their servers were so overloaded that they were crashing, and basically you couldn't watch the event.
Somehow, Palpatine returned.
And if you got lucky, you knew about it. If you didn't, then no one really knew because the servers were crashing.
Hey, but Mandalorian Season 1 is, good, and this is based on Season 1.
Look, I'm going to say this here. Season 1, I think, was the best one. The other two were...
Season 2 and 3 are fine. They just have too much nostalgia. It's too much, here's this Star Wars character. He's back, buy his toy.
I feel like, at least where we ended in season 3, feels maybe we'll go back towards season 1 in direction a little bit. Maybe.
I mean, I don't want to talk about the show because I think it's still relatively new, and I don't want to spoil it for people. But I really did not like the. So I didn't like it. I didn't like the ending of season 3 that much.
It was I think I'm talking about the very last bits of it.
I mean, the vibe was more like season 1.
Yeah, but there was a lot of the season there that was. Anyway, look, Star Wars stuff has a lot of controversy about the way that Disney has about.
Hey, maybe it'll get better.
It's a mixed bag, whether you like the lore or honestly quality stuff. There are certain ones that people swear to, and other ones that people really hate. And so, honestly speaking, this is more season 1 Mandalorian. They do say that, where it is based more on you're going on, I guess, missions, bounty hunting missions and stuff like that. I assume.
Yeah, I just assume you're doing bounty hunting stuff with your child.
Mm-hmm. It's a cooperative game.
Makes sense.
There are 8 iconic characters. I don't know the whole list of characters they would have.
I could not name you 8 characters from The Mandalorian.
I'm assuming the former killer robot, which became good towards the end of the season, will be one of the characters. And then
obviously Mando.
Maybe you can play...
Maybe you can play Grogu, You can play the adopted child that's older than everyone in the show.
Look, it's adopting the elf baby, which it doesn't mature very long or something like that. It's
he can do the hand thing and kill someone.
I'm sure there's some other characters that I would not have remembered from this.
There's some Clone Wars characters in there because the guy who makes it can't let go of the Clone Wars.
But it's the big thing they did.
The big thing he made.
Yeah. I guess it's sort of like George Lucas not getting rid of things and doing crazy shit in prequels because he's like, I did a great thing, now I can do no wrong.
I'm famous and no one can tell me no now.
Yeah. I did hear the first movie actually was so good in part because George Lucas was actually told no a lot.
Yeah, the original cut of the first one, which I believe is Lost to Time, was apparently really bad.
Remember, George Lucas originally wanted Yoda to be played by a chimpanzee.
By a chimpanzee, which would have been lovely.
Look, the first trilogy, it worked because basically George Lucas had some great ideas, and then he had people that tempered those ideas into something
worked because
good.
George Lucas had competent writers to help him and editors.
Yeah, people that could work with him. That by the time we get to the prequels, they no longer do that.
Yeah, you had a lot more control over the whole thing.
I think the prequels are fine. I
think they're fine too.
2 and 3
they're
are
fun.
okay. One's kind of a boring fest in the last 30 minutes.
I mean, yeah, looking back at them now, they were kind of confusing at the time, but I feel like they're not so bad. They're just not as good as the original thing. But they're fine,
Biggest crime is being a little bit too silly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So, if you're interested in this one, it's another Star Wars series. Honestly speaking, there are games like this, but maybe this one will be, if you're interested in it, maybe we'll check it out.
I mean, if anything, you can live out the dream of being a bounty hunter in Star Wars. That's cool as hell.
So, I did want to chat about it a little bit. Actually, you're in here. People can see coffee behind me.
Cat.
She wandered already back by Anyway, yes. So I have 2 articles about this, because basically we learned a bunch about the 2024 Player's Handbook for D&D. Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, and Todd Kendrick had a big fireside discussing a lot of stuff. You can check it out. I think I can link to articles talking about it. I can also link the...
I did not have time to watch this, though. I knew it happened.
Same with me. It was one of those things that's I heard about it.
So I've just been, unfortunately very busy this month.
I find out that I'm very busy when I'm not, like, you know...
I'm very pro new player's handbook. I feel like I don't know if that's a minority
I am
opinion.
too, actually.
Because I didn't hate the UA stuff. I just thought it was interesting. That's what I thought about it.
I guess we're gonna get more of these, maybe? I don't know. It's on the D&D's website. They did a Fireside Chat 2024 revised person. So I guess if they're gonna do more, like, just chats about updates and stuff,
I like
fine.
it. I would prefer if they did talk about the updates just for transparency.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I'm also kind of like, do they have a release date yet, or is it still like a
I think it does have a release. I think it's in September.
I think they
September 17th.
That, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the release date.
And then we don't know when the DMG is out yet. I know the Monster Manual is February 2025 for the Monster Manual. So we're getting the Player's Handbook first, then I assume the DMG next.
Yeah.
And then the Monster Manual will last.
Yeah. So they definitely they were discussing a lot of new features and stuff, new spells, feats, class features, subclasses, more options. It looks as though there'll also be some psionic subclasses, so they're adding kind of psionics.
There are a few psionic subclasses, but there's not many of them, and they're only like slightly themed to be psionic, like Soul Knife and there's a sorcerer one. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, they're saying
Aberrant Mind.
Yeah, so apparently the sorcerer and the Aberrant Mind are the one that they talked about a little bit, but they have also said they're going to do a fighter, psi warrior, and a rogue soul knight that will be in the core rulebook. So they're going to have updates from
I know
Tasha's on
that this new player's handbook is supposed to be much bigger than the current one.
Yes, which I think is a good thing.
It's kind of a compilation of, I would assume, stuff from all three of the current player books.
We're also supposed to get like a lot more.
3 or 4. No, I don't remember.
I forget how many subclasses each class is supposed to get. But it's like the same number for each.
Isn't it 3?
Well, there's the giant book now, and then giant book's weird because it's like half a bestiary, half a player's handbook.
Yeah, a lot of books are like that.
I think there's only like the 3 main ones still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought there was only 3 from what I heard, but I don't remember where I heard that, so it can't really be
Player's
trusted.
Handbook, Tasha's, Xanathar's, right? That's the 3?
I think that's the 3. If you have those, you've pretty much got most of what they've got to offer. But then the other 2 are basically the 3 main books rolled into one, because it's like, oh, it's Tasha's. Well, it's a Player's Handbook, the DM's Guide, and a Monster Manual all rolled into one. Same as Xanathar. They keep doing that. They're like, well, we're going to do a new book, and rather just one of each type of book, you know, to do updates and stuff. We're just going to roll all 3 into one big book and, you know, call it a day. So, that's, again, I think that's both good and bad in certain ways, but I feel like, you know, I want consistency on, like, updates and books and stuff, and they gave us, 2 of these over the years?
There's 2 of them, and they're both pretty good overall, I think.
Here's a question I have. In the past, when, like, games have kind of... Well, no, I feel like... I was going to say, like, maybe they'll start releasing the old PDFs as, like, PDFs, but probably not.
Doesn't know how to do PDFs.
They do, actually. Like, I mean, they started releasing, like, all of 4th edition PDFs when, like, 5e was
I don't think we're going to...
and stuff.
The reason I don't think we're going to get 5th edition PDFs is because they have D&D
It's still
Beyond.
5th edition. Okay.
I think they're going to... Because they have D&D Beyond.
That makes
I think
sense.
that's where they're going to put all the digital stuff and I think it's all just going to remain on that site.
I'm thinking that too, yeah. That's why I was like, I started to ask the question, I'm like, it's probably not.
Because they spent a lot of money to get that site.
I think like stuff maybe on the games might be PDFs, but that stuff is like the it's not quite third party stuff that they're like selling on there.
It's like second party.
Yeah. So I think that stuff might get PDFs, but like the primary material, they want that. They want
nice.
Super control. It'd be really nice.
I mean, they also don't, as far as I'm aware, don't entirely own the Dungeon Masters Guild site.
No, they have like a partnership with it. I think.
Yeah, they have a partnership with Drive-Thru RPG. It's the same company. So yeah.
PDFs would be nice, but they're not wholly
annoying.
required. It's just more of a price point thing at this point.
So, I mean, if you want to look into the full list of like what they're talking about with the art, features, enhanced gameplay, and stuff like that, we've heard a little bit here and there overall. But it sounds like there's a little bit of new stuff that we're getting information on, I should say. But again, this is a thing that we'll know in September. We'll really know what's going on here. Wait for then. So, I did want to talk about something that's coming out by Onyx Path. And I like Onyx Path because they did a lot of the 20th anniversary World of Darkness stuff, which I feel like is very, very good stuff that they did. And they have a new game called At the Gates, which art reminds me very much so of the old Final Fantasy style. So now this is going to be going live 9 days from here, May 7th. But it's basically, they're doing a very... It's very Final Fantasy. They're basically going like, what if we made basically Final Fantasy the RPG?
There's been a few of those recently.
Yeah.
Including an official one that's coming out soon.
Yeah, but they wanted, I guess, their own take on the high fantasy inspired by a JRPG setting kind of thing. And these take a while, so they could have been like, again, inspired.
A lot of these probably were like in development around the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe when 16 came out, everybody.
I will say that is just a Vieira in that art. It's just a Vieira.
Yeah, I'm kind of neat. So this is what Onyx Path has been working on. I feel like I haven't seen much from Onyx Path.
Yeah, they've been a little silent.
They are doing some smaller projects and stuff too. Like they've been continuing their It Came From series for that RPG. So it came from the blah blah blah. You know, they've been continuing those, and they still are doing a couple of like 20th anniversary stuff. But they're doing like.
And they're also doing some
and changeling stuff because they can't do werewolf and vampire.
Yeah,
real. I think there are some rules that they could maybe do stuff, but they're kind of taking a step away because it's like
they're still doing Chronicles as well, but
I think they
that's slowed a lot. Yeah, no, but it's just like most of the stuff I've seen are like very small things. I think like Hunter is still in the works, but I feel like everything there is just slowed for some reason.
I think
it's Hunter out. I don't know.
I don't remember it being out, but but I think it's just a lot of what was going on with the switch in direction with the entire World of Darkness and adding in the 5th edition stuff for V5 and W5, which I'm holding my breath on W5 because I feel like there were some missteps in the way that they did stuff in V5, both storyline and mechanically, but maybe they can learn from their mistakes that I feel like they kind of made in W5, and we can actually have something really cool. I wouldn't mind.
I have no opinions because I have never played a World of Darkness campaign.
No, Hunter of the Vigil 2nd edition is out.
Okay. Well,
it's been out. It's been out since 2022.
Also, I think Reckoning, which is that's the Chronicle one. Reckoning, which is the World of Darkness one. I think they were doing something for that in the newer settings too. Can't remember. But so nonetheless, we've got this one. You're dealing with this kind of this void outside the world. It's upending the balance of this world. And you gotta fight against it. And it's epic, high fantasy. So, again, probably we'll learn a little bit more about it when it officially comes out. But the backer kit waiting window is there. We're looking to. There's that countdown timer for the 7th. Okay. Soon. So this was an interesting one that I saw, and I thought to talk about, because it's sort of like... This is the tabletop version of Street Fighter the movie, the video game.
Nice.
Because... Games Workshop is making a tabletop version of Warhammer 40k Darktide.
I figured this was going to happen eventually.
It really is, though, because Darktide is a video game version of Warhammer, and now they're making a miniatures tabletop game version of that. It is Street Fighter the movie, the video game.
I think they did I feel like they didn't do this for Vermintide. I feel like they should have. But I guess it's because Age of Sigmar is not particularly popular.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that, like, if I wasn't as aware, like, Vermintide, I've seen people play. And it was just that basic awareness that it was, oh, this is Age of Sigmar. And I'm like, because they don't really advertise it. It's just Vermintide or Vermintide 2, you know? They don't advertise it as much.
Warhammer Fantasy is in a weird place right now. It has been for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's a lot of fun stuff with it. Like, but it's funny, because I feel like most of the fun stuff I've seen, or like most of the stuff that I've been like, oh, that's cool, from like Warhammer Fantasy has been video games.
Yeah, it's much better at being a video game. I also know nothing about Darktide. I've never played it.
I have watched some people play it, but I also, like, when I originally was watching it was during their, like, beta release.
Seen some of the V Shoujo people play it together, and that's about it.
I've seen very little of it, but I think I saw like one person play it for a very short period of time.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea for a game. It's basically it's Vermintide, Left 4 Dead, aka all that kind of same thing. You know, you get kind of like, except this one's like you choose a class, you go in there, you have abilities, you fight against things, you go on missions, etc., etc. You know, it's a style of game. We've got a lot of those, you know, but I think the entire idea is like you are basically prisoners that are given another chance by going on these, like, you know, suicide missions, basically. So, hey, you could redeem yourself in the eyes of the Imperium of Man.
Well, not really.
Nah, you can at least be allowed to live longer.
You can go die for your Emperor.
Yeah. You can go die for the Emperor. And they'll be like, well, at least you were useful, prisoner. But, so yeah, we're getting a miniatures game based on it. If you like Darktide, maybe you like this, if you like these type of games.
If you really like to have to dig deep into your 401k to buy miniatures, you'll really like this one.
This is probably cheaper than...
No. This is not... It's gonna be the same price.
Because it's not like a full...
At the very least, it's gonna be the same price as some of the other side games they have, which is still pretty expensive.
Yeah. Here. Release date's coming soon. We know about its existence. So, keep that in mind. Keep an eye. Okay. This was an interesting one that I saw that I wanted to talk about. And this is, apparently Roll20 is releasing a beta that would allow you to play RPGs, like D&D, linked directly into Discord calls. So, that's an interesting idea, because I guess it allows you to use Discord easier for, like, talking, more linked together and stuff like that, because normally it's like a screen capture or anything, but this would be more integrated, I assume, then?
Things like this exist already.
Yeah.
Wait,
it's a cool...
Roll20 has a beta app? Hold on.
It's a neat idea. I like the idea. I don't think I would use it. But I could definitely see using this. Mostly because I don't want to add another, like, factor and things that can break onto the already pile of issues of doing an online game.
I gotta admit, most of the time I don't really worry about this because, like, I'm using Roll20 anyway, and I'm using Discord anyway, and I don't have to merge them. I can see there's opportunities and places to do that, but like for my setup, I haven't had a need to do that ever.
Oh, I see. They're finally getting around to making a mobile app. That's what's happening.
Is it just a mobile app?
Well, no, it looks like it can, because this is, I think,
Yeah, it'll probably be like a computer app as
desktop, but I assume it's for the help of mobile and stuff.
No, like they show mobile stuff as well.
Okay.
So
it's
yeah,
mainly
like
being. So I clicked on the beta thing. It's being added as a Discord activity, like the YouTube stuff and shit.
Oh yeah.
Because honestly, I like the idea personally, and I know you're like, oh, I don't want to get more weirdness, but I'm like, honestly, if you've worked with Roll20 as much as I have, it's so jank anyway that I'm like, can't be worse.
It can.
It definitely can be, but I'm just saying, like, it's already so jank. Honestly, if they're getting an app, I'm excited. Do you want to know why? A desktop app means mods.
Ooh, interesting. I think also, like, the thing about it is that I'm not thinking about is you don't have to have a browser open then necessarily to do that. But like, I could admit, like,
you can mod an app. You can't mod a website.
Yeah, like, there hasn't been a lot of times where I'd say, man, I don't need a browser open, but I still need Discord to work to use Roll20. Like, the amount of times that I think that has been something that I've thought about has been pretty small, and if not existent. But I can understand that would be a very good use of, that.
I honestly think it. Well, here's
program mode.
No, this is easier because, like, I mean, think of how often it is. You're like, okay, we're all gonna go join this Discord group and play D&D or play Roll20, and like, it'd be easier just to start a call and then start an event and be like, cool, everyone ready, rather than having to, be like, hey, don't forget to log into Roll20, and people are like, oh yeah, and then they're like, oh wait, my Roll20's not working for some reason. I mean, it still might not work, but
it's got some interesting ideas and advantages. I'm like kind of on the fence whether I would use it or not, but I think it is an interesting.
I wouldn't use it for streaming.
For streaming, this would not be great.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. So, it's an interesting idea. I'll see how they'll develop it, and if it works, cool. I don't mind them doing that together.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for an app.
So, I've got two.
Imagine just saving things to a folder and letting it load from there. I hope they allow stuff like that. I don't know what they're gonna do, but now knowing this, I'm excited. My hopes are way too high already.
Two charities? My brain broke there for a second. I'm not thinking about the right.
Yes, charity would be the word.
And Paizo is going for support for the other one, and when I was looking into stuff, I found the other one, which we talked about something related to it the other week. So, Paizo is getting support for this trans right charity. That's TTRPGs for trans rights. I'll put out their message on that there. And then I will put out the link to that charity if you're interested in it. Yep. So Paizo does a lot of support on different kinds of diversity and stuff a lot of times, so I understand. Definitely, it seems like a thing that they would get behind a lot of times. And
that one is $5 for a 600 PDFs of various RPGs plus I forget what Paizo's giving out for it.
They have the
Kingdoms. It's the Last Wall book.
Yeah.
And it's a good cause to help some marginalized people who are truly suffering currently in the United States.
Mm-hmm. And on a little more of the international spells, we did talk about the Palestinian kids TTRPGs for kids in Palestine. There's also a Palestinian relief bundle similarly up on Peach.io. So I thought to also mention that. Again, up to you. They're out there. You support them. Go ahead and support them. If you don't, you can ignore them. That's all I can say about it. Each everybody has their own opinions on a lot of stuff. I'm telling people about it. I'm going to keep a little bit just simple on the words. So You can agree to disagree on a lot of different things, especially.
It's good to support your fellow human being.
But supporting your fellow human beings is a good thing in general. So I'm just saying that, being nice to each other is great.
We're all in this together, and we all gotta help each other.
Yes. So there's 2 charities. One that was brought to my attention, and I ran into the other one while looking at research. I wanted to mention both of them because there's a lot of people out there suffering, and we want to make sure people are treated like humans. At least. At very least, if not better.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put the docket in again because it's been a little bit. And then I want to move on. Unless there's something else about the charities you want to mention.
I don't have anything presently to mention. I'm gonna check your audio. Lightning is saying you sound a bit uncanny on stream.
Let me check my audio.
Check your settings and stuff.
Hello? 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 Let me restart.
Yeah, you're good.
I turned my computer mute on, and it sounded okay. So I don't know. I'll let it for a second. That sounds a little better? I think it does. Okay. I restarted it. It sounds a little better.
It happens. Audio issues are the most common issue.
Oh, is there an audio issue?
Yeah, Texas audio quality was a little bit lower than normal.
Yeah, I resetted it. It sounds like it sounds a little better after I reset it, but it wasn't terrible, I don't think. But yeah, I think that is yeah. A good reset of the audio engine, just does that.
It happens.
So I got 2 things to mention for Magic Gathering, which was very interesting. The first is they're actually technically both based on Dicebreakers reports, but the other one I just looked at the actual product, but it's in the Dicebreakers. So the first one is some news on Magic that apparently we are getting an update that Arena's not doing so hot.
Yeah, I've heard rumors that Arena is kind of like floundering compared to some other stuff.
Wasn't there like something where people were like saying this thing is going to be terrible for Arena?
There are plenty of things that people said
I know
for Arena.
People said Marvel. I know Marvel Snap has taken a portion of Arena's player base because Marvel Snap is a quicker card game to play.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, they were already competing with a heavy hitter like Hearthstone. I
Yeah.
haven't really heard a lot on Hearthstone.
Hearthstone is pretty popular. It's got a very silent player base.
I think I don't mind, that they don't say anything, but yeah, certainly.
Oh right, Arena's that. Okay.
The Arena is the
yeah.
PC app.
Yeah, but oh yeah, no, and I remember what it was. It was the getting rid of a certain type of deck or a certain type of card pack or something.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Arena to really know that kind of info.
And if they made the change in Arena, it would make it horrible or something. I don't remember.
I think because Arena does a lot of draft type style gameplay.
It is very good for drafts, I've heard.
They're changing the packs up to these play packs. May have a detrimental effect on Arena too, because they are supposed to be draftable, but they're also supposed to be combining their draft and collectors or set boosters or whatever into something supposed to still be draftable. But Thunder Junction, we're really testing it out, because it's the last
I have a friend who plays a lot of Arena, and he says the Thunder Junction stuff is not particularly good in Arena. The stuff they did with them.
Yeah, is it that it wasn't well implemented, or is it just that?
I think it's just it's been buried in this Discord chat for me to find the exact wording.
Because I think it's, again, we were meeting the problem that them changing the way that booster packs works changes the way that draft works. And that's a major altercation, because in a system that relies on draft as your style of gameplay, that's pretty... yeah. I don't know. Things like Fallout did very well. And a lot of their other materials that they put out have done well, so they're looking forward to their crossovers. certainly with the revenue and Arena down and it's floundering a little bit, I don't know if they're going to fix it. I think Alchemy is very unpopular. They're switching up things with their stuff. The set's just kind of...
Thunder Junction, I think, overall just hasn't been a very well-received set as well.
Yeah, I've heard things where it's just like, it's just a bit
It's like,
not...
Yeah. Just a bit,
It seemed like a cool idea, and the cards don't look terrible, but, like, I haven't really read up on the mechanics, so I certainly can see how, like...
I don't know anything about Thunder Junction, because I've just... honestly have not cared to look into it.
I've played one round of Magic the Gathering in my life, and that was like a few months ago.
That was a while back.
Yeah.
I think it's like having looked up on it, and I played Joe in... I can talk about it later on. I played him in Magic last night. We did a round where we grabbed decks with the source you gave me, and then I think I played one that had some Thunder Junction cards in it, but it was sort of like, it was fine, but they weren't really stand out beyond anything. So, but it was a standard deck, so it's not just Thunder Junction. So I can't really say anything about particularly Thunder Junction more than anything else. There are some fine cards that add to standard. Is it something great in and of itself? I don't know. Now, interestingly enough, though, the other part of this, which relates to Thunder Junction, is they did which I will link to the article and then to the YouTube video. They basically recreated the Cowboy Bebop intro for Thunder Junction, which is like one of those weird things because it's like, Outlaws and Wild West and stuff like that. And
that's
Cowboy
funny.
Bebop is like a sci-fi version of it, but it's sort of like...
I guess they're similar enough in the fact that they're not actually that similar at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's fun, and there's some stuff related to it in like Magic Japan. But
I'll definitely tell you why they did this. Is for advertising in Japan to try and get Magic the Gathering to be a thing there.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Definitely why they've done that, and because they have the Final Fantasy set crossover coming out too.
Yeah, like Magic the Gathering in Japan has been there, but it definitely is not as big as some of the other games.
It's really hard for a Western game to make it big in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, isn't there a whole subgroup that's like really into it there though?
Oh yeah, no,
like Western stuff?
There's definitely a very dedicated fan base of it, but it's like as a mass populace, Japanese people would rather play something made by Japanese companies.
Yeah.
Look, I just remember...
there's like that weird kind of like what is it, like nationalism or whatever there?
Yeah. So nonetheless, you definitely know Magic is out there because I can remember many years ago on a manga site where you can read manga. There was one that it wasn't a Magic the Gathering manga. It was a manga about somebody playing Magic the Gathering, very Yu-Gi-Oh style, but it was like from like the mid 2000s, and so it was like this is a interesting concept. I would expect this from your other Japanese card games, but we had one that someone was doing it for Magic too. It was interesting enough. I didn't really dive deep into it, but I saw a little. So.
Yeah. All right. I just watched the whole thing. Meh.
It's just the Cowboy Bebop opening.
It's just the Cowboy.
Yeah, and I've kind of forgot how simple the Cowboy Bebop opening is. I don't want to say it, but it's like the point of Cowboy Bebop is that everything's super recognizable.
Yeah.
Because because of the way it's like the silhouettes and stuff, but it's like it doesn't really look like anything because it's like who are these characters? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know who these guys are.
Like I personally know the names of 3 of them, and even then I'm like I probably couldn't I've heard of Oko. I would never recognize his silhouette. I've heard of Rakdos. Rakdos is just a goddamn demon. He looks like any other goddamn demon. The only one which maybe kind of stands out is Vraska, but she's still just a Medusa.
Yeah.
There's some kind of skeleton person.
That's Tiny Bones.
It's Tiny Bones, yeah.
Right. I do, for the life of me, I would have not remembered where Tiny Bones was until I was like, someone was talking about one of these like magic articles when I was like looking through stuff, and I'm like, who the fuck is Tiny Bones? And I'm like, oh, from that set? Really? You know, it's like I would not have known him. It was a character that I'm like, okay. It's sort of like in Thunder Junction when the zombie creating twins from Innistrad show up in Thunder Junction.
Ooh,
I'm like,
weird.
I'm like, yeah, they're there.
I feel like this is gonna happen a lot now that they're just like, yeah, basically anyone can planar travel. They're just gonna start bringing back popular characters in sets they shouldn't be in.
I did read up on the storyline they're going for, and it's like, it's kind of dumb because it's supposed to be like, it's Jason Vraska are back, and they're trying to like create some kind of like policing system for that, so it makes it that not everybody can be anywhere. So that's the problem right now. It's supposed to be the story is everybody can be anywhere, but they want it to be less. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck they're going for this storyline. It's just so confusing. And I'm like,
it's dumb. I don't like it. I mean, I haven't liked Magic storyline for a while. I've been pretty vocal about that.
Yeah.
They should actually get some people to like, you know, make a comic book or something. So it's
they
like,
used to do books, and then one author really messed it up.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm not gonna lie. The basic concept behind Thunder Junction, which was a plane that was unsettled until the Omen Pass opened up. So that's why people are showing up here. And it's a fun that a bunch of, like, criminals found, is not a terrible idea. And then having, like, a heist thing with a bunch of, like, planar people, like, some of the concepts here aren't bad. I just think, like, the execution and the way they did the story and the entire weird extra things with Jason Vrask on top of the shit.
I just think you could have got someone else instead of Jace and Vrask, who show up in way too much stuff.
Yeah, and because Jace was supposed to be the one that, like, tricked Oko into doing this, you know?
I really like that they have really glossed over the fact that a bunch of Planewalkers were Phyrexia, and now it's like, yeah, they're fine now. They have just been like, yeah, they're fine.
Look, I read the story summary, and they're like, Jace was basically, because he's got mind powers, was able to, like, save himself mostly, and was able to basically survive it only because he was able to trap his own mind in part of his body, so that it wasn't converted to Phyrexian. So basically, it's like a shell of him that was converted.
Very dumb.
It's very dumb and very like, wow. And basically, the story is he was able to do this, and then like once the Phyrexians basically turned off, he was able to take over his body and go get himself healed. And he basically helped out Vraska by being like, oh, I found a shell of her in her body and did the same because I'm fucking in a relationship with her. And I'm like, great, you're in a relationship with each other. You know? That's fine. Mm-hmm. I don't care. You like each other. Great. The entire reasoning behind this, we got Deus Ex out of this shit, is kind of dumb. You could have come up with a much better storyline behind it. Except I got mind powers. Fuck you.
Very, very dumb.
So Embracer.
Yeah, Embracer like exploded.
Yeah. So here's the article you have. And I'll give it. I like Dicebreakers. I'll give their article on it.
Dicebreakers might go more into the board game implications of this.
Yeah. But it turns out that Embracer's splitting up into 3 main groups. And it's going to be... I'm going to tell you, this is actually kind of weird, because Asmodee is technically both becoming independent, but also not becoming independent, because it's sort of like... It's different because they're becoming a third of an old company that just existed.
It's a weird situation, but Embracer is dead.
Yeah.
Embracer's gone.
So it's basically they're splitting into 3 groups. The Asmodee group. Coffee
Stain, which I think is the video game side, and Middle Earth Entertainment. Middle Earth Enterprise, which is all the Lord of the Rings stuff, because Embracer bought the rights to Lord of the Rings. I think it's one of the first things they bought.
Yeah, so just to summarize, yes, Asmodee, it's apparently because it has still remained largely what it was at Embracer. This is the point in time where, like, it's mostly going to be the same as it was before Embracer bought it, I think.
Yeah.
It probably didn't have the least amount of changes because, yes, Embracer had it, but Embracer hadn't like integrated it maybe like some of the other stuff they had. So they're being kicked out, and they're getting that's 90 million.
That's the euro symbol.
Euros.
Because Embracer was a European company.
So they're getting like a payout of 90 million euros. On top of that, a financing, I guess it's sort of like, we're breaking apart, we're just giving you this money?
Yeah.
I don't understand
the
that.
The business world is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really weird.
We've talked about Embracer before, but the writing was kind of on the wall and has been since last year with the fact that they lost $2 billion.
Yeah.
And then had been slowly collapsing since.
So yeah. Coffee Stains, just to briefly go over it, it was their premium division and free to play. Premium division would be people that do like Satisfactory, Wildheim, Deep Rock Galactic. It's also KHQ Nordic, a couple other big.
Some of the gaming stuff. Volition, I think. No, Volition died.
But it's not all the gaming stuff.
No.
Because Middle Earth Enterprising has Crystal Dynamics,
yeah,
Eidos Montreal, and stuff like that. So
I'm more excited for that because I actually like games from those two companies.
Yeah. Apparently, also like Dark Horse Comics are in that group too.
Yeah, Embracer came in for a couple years and just started buying companies, and which is a business strategy to throw money around to build your company, which obviously it did not work out for Embracer.
Yeah, because it looks like they had some like business backing from Saudi Arabia that they like fell through, and they were like, "Oh crap, we just bought all this stuff, and now we don't have the money."
Yeah, they were left with all this debt.
So yeah, so Middle Earth one will have like, other than Dark Horse, it's the people that are doing Lord of the Rings, Tomb Raider, it's Dead Island, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Metro, some other ones like that too. So, like, their video game groups split into two, but one of them is like pure video game. The other one's like, I guess, some big ticket video games, but also like some media stuff.
Yeah.
I guess also maybe I could call them like more multimedia franchises to a degree.
They definitely are at this point.
Yeah, because Tomb Raider and Lord of the Rings. The other ones, I don't know. I guess they're just part of that entire group. I don't know the split. And then Asmodee on its own. Yeah. So effectively, on the tabletop side, Asmodee, they are not getting the debt basically. What's going on.
No.
That's why they're being given 90 million euro, because that's to go and pay off effectively the debt that would transfer to them from Embracer in the split.
Yeah.
It's a payoff that's sort of like, hey, you can go off on your own and do yourself. So it's not like they're just paying them a lot of money that they're going to get. That is to actually help cancel out the debt that Embracer owes. There's a reason behind that money. The investment stuff. They get into that a little bit in Dice Breakers about the debt side of things.
Yeah, they only briefly go over it in the game industry article.
Yeah.
I think this was the first article that broke this news, so it doesn't have the most information.
It's an interesting situation. I mean, will it be better for Asmodee? Yes and no.
I think it will be roughly status quo.
Yeah. They'll be on their own again. Their own mega corporation which rules over smaller corporations. At least it's one less level deep of corporate ownership.
I guess. It's a small breakup of, what was this? A large conglomerate.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with the media properties and stuff, like the board game properties and stuff under Asmodee. How they'll be, if they're going to be restructured.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about, like, Days of Wonder, Fantasy Flight, a lot of those groups have been always under Asmodee's kind of broad spectrum. So seeing some stuff speak part. It's interesting. So that's the big thing. we'll see how it
Been
goes.
there before. I think they'll stand on their own again.
Yeah. What kind of effects this entire being eaten up and then basically thrown back out will have on their style? I don't know. We'll have questions. We'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens. So, hey, we've talked about Star Trek Adventures the Second Edition, and just as soon as we spoke about it a bit last week, you know what Modifius goes and does? Gives us a quick start of the Second Edition. As soon as I goddamn talked about it just briefly, they're like, hey, you mentioned that we were changing some things and bringing some stuff. Here you go. So there's a free quick start, 48 pages, got a standalone adventure in 3 acts, the basic second edition rules, 7 pre-gen characters, plus a ship. So, yeah, it's getting us in our
first look.
Our
really.
first look, at what will be second edition. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to second edition. I'm very glad.
I am too, because first edition is a little bit rough nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that there's a bunch of aspects of it that have been difficult. Things like, again, they're getting rid of the challenge dice. Because the challenge dice were an interesting idea. They were kind of bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting rid of those means that we certainly are in better shape for a lot of other stuff. So, it's nice to see it. A lot of other updates. I guess if I haven't looked at it yet, but I've got the PDF. I went through the site earlier today. Basically, and so if you want to check it out and see if you're interested in it, I always recommend the Star Trek Adventures RPG. It's fun. It's a very good aspect of 2D Funny, and it fixed a lot of stuff in the 2D Funny system. This might be a good chance for you to get into it. There you go.
Hmm?
Final topic comes from Fiendish Forge, the other topic.
It's from IO Publishing. And the name is Fiendish Forge of the book.
I believe you were saying these were the.
This is Brett Ultimus's company. They do D&D campaigns online. He released a book a while ago called Why Slay Dragons When You Could Be Fishing, which is a D&D book just all about fishing.
He did the fishing book.
Very good book. I actually recommend that book a lot. He actually is a very good creator. He makes a lot of really fun stuff. And I'm certainly looking forward to his new book because I really liked the fishing book.
Yeah.
I believe he has said that he wants to just do a whole line of Animal Crossing-esque books for D&D. Because he ran an entire campaign that was just this fishing book, and it was his most popular series he did.
Yeah. I mean,
weirdly popular.
There's something about a lot of minute details that people can add to their stuff. Because that's the thing, it's Fiendish Forge is basically monsters and body parts and stuff and
monsters and crafting.
Yeah, crafting. And it's just the idea of being able, because these are the kind of weird, because a lot of people nowadays play video games. What's some of the most popular video games? They have weird side quests and weird things, and people want to do those things. And most people don't make rules for those because they're just make it up if your players want to, But
I think it's the thing that you also think about in a lot of video games, things like fishing mini games can be pretty popular, or oh hey. People talk about that kind of thing when it comes to a video game, So, certainly speaking, it does reflect on the fact that these kind of things can be popular in a lot of stuff and can drive, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I will say There's not like a good fishing minigame is like the best thing that you can put in a game. And also 5e needs crafting. I say it every time a crafting thing is announced.
Yeah, it really does. Not argue with that. 5e has this like large holes they really need to sink. Having them hidden that massive holes in their systems and stuff. I don't know what we're going to get for the new edition. I'm sorry, the revamp, because it's not a new edition. Wink, wink.
Yeah, it's like it's not a new edition. It's a something.
I mean, like you're talking about 5e? Because yeah, that's gonna be pretty much the same.
I'm doing a very terrible wink at the same time because like I'm honest, it's like I don't know what to call it now. I guess we'll just see what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know at this point.
It's I mean, like again, it's like it's 5.5. Whatever, it's probably what's gonna end up being called by the fandom.
That's what it's gonna get called. They're not gonna want to call it that. They're just gonna keep calling it 5th edition, but it's just gonna be called 5.5.
Yeah. Should we get to our deeper discussion topic today before we get too late and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had less topics and we went into more in depth. You know, that's the kind of thing that ended up there.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, we definitely need to, I don't know. You're the host. You should rein us in.
Yeah, well...
I try to, but I don't get reined in by
I cannot be reined in.
So, here's an interesting thing, because in a lot of times with role-playing game, you have physical maps and kind of stuff like that first near the mind when you are role-playing. A lot of times it comes down to, when you're doing an adventure, both work. I think that's not really like the, reason I wanted to bring this up here, but I think it's like, you have to be smart about which one is like going to be useful at that time, I think is what it is. Because I'll take into example the adventure I'm running now, and in Wednesday, we're going to talk about it a little bit, but the dungeon there has a mechanic where you can pull levers, and I just have to pay attention to where the juxtaposition of like how many turns it's been, and I can make notes of that on a sheet on this map. Because what I had to do to get to work on stream was get a copy of the map, and then use the snip tool and go into the fucking PDF, which I gotta, and cut out little squares of the areas which rotate on the map. And then I had to rotate them in Roll20 to have it work for people online to see. But fuck if that's awful.
I mean...
Yeah.
Certainly speaking, as you said, Worm, there are ways I could have made it more efficient on stream, there and stuff like that, and with Roll20 and stuff like that. But I think it's the concept of, I didn't really need to do it even in Roll20,
Yeah. The problem is a puzzle like that becomes very hard to follow.
Yes.
If you don't have a visual representation, though.
That's also true, though, too. I think that's the thing, though, is I feel like that's the point of it in a way, because it's sort of like your characters would be the same kind of disorientation. I think it's the mechanic of the labyrinth with that thing. So it's kind of like this give or take on it, it's like an interesting idea, but also like, I don't know. I don't know in this case which would have necessarily been the best, but I think it's one of those point in time where you have to kind of think. And Lightning in Twitch chat brings some very good point that combat with a mounted map is very difficult in a lot of ways sometimes too, because there are sometimes things that comes to measurements and stuff like that, especially in a mechanically heavy game like Pathfinder, where it really matters. Stuff like 5e, I feel like sometimes you can get away with it a lot more because it's a simpler system. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, like for Pathfinder, maps are kind of essential for combat because so much is based around movement and placing and placement and moving and like the spell ranges, etc. And you need to know all of this to really do it well. Granted, you can get around it, but you're basically going to have to negate actually some core rules. Not core, but like some rules that are like heavily assumed. you know?
Yeah.
It's like Pathfinder has so much like, yeah. So, but yeah. I mean, I think that personally, I say if in doubt, map it out. But
well, I think it's sort of like too, when it came to something like World of Darkness, 90% of the time, I don't think I would use a map, even when you're going to get in combat situations.
Honestly,
But
I wouldn't use a map either. As someone who loves maps, I might make like a general map of an area, but I wouldn't map out combat because I feel like that's just too much.
And that would, if it would come up. And then, of course, then like, we have to take the example of something that you can do theater of the mind, it just doesn't work. DB40. It didn't work very well because it wasn't the DBP was supposed to come out when we talked about it. But it's the ultimate example of a time where you need some kind of map down for players to see because of the nature of the system. It was a system that you couldn't really do theater of the mind because those numbers meant everything to it.
Yeah. And I feel like Pathfinder has a lot of that as well, where it's like, but you can't.
Yeah, you can, but you suffer then.
I am a big proponent of the way I do dungeons, and Tandis, you've been in multiple of my games. You know, when I don't feel like making a map or finding one that is the exact specification of the crazy-ass dungeon I need, I will just do I'll just do rooms of the dungeon for combat and leave combat in just encounter rooms instead of having it be a whole dungeon map. I think that's...
I just make my own map.
I'm lazy and a bit too busy. I used to make maps for every dungeon. I have too much stuff I do throughout the day.
Sometimes, depending on things,
it is easier for me to just get a big blank, roll 20 page, and draw hallways.
Yeah, that's not too difficult either. I've done that.
I will 100% admit, I just like the map making process. I like handling them. I like working with them. I like everything about them. And which is why you're like, oh, it takes too much time. It's like, I agree, it takes way too much time. I still do it because I like doing it.
I think that's the thing too, is different game masters like different levels of how to make maps and stuff too. And I think that's the thing, is whether you love to make maps or you can just like look and find one online, because like I think that's the other thing that I try to do a lot. I have had in Crimson Queen a couple of stylized versions of these maps because basically I was looking to see if I could find just an image of the map rather than cutting it out of the book using the snip tool from the PDF on. And so some of them are a little more stylized, but I like these stylized versions a little bit more because it gets rid of a lot of those rough edges of the Pathfinder ones of them. It makes them feel a little bit more lived in, and stuff like that. But I'm still I'm using the maps they provided to me, and I don't have to make a map. Then it's only just aligning it as best you can with the thing. Some of them
you can download images from a PDF, right?
You just right-click download.
Yeah.
The PDF just has the image on there in like an image box.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go Crimson Queen.
Just blew your mind, huh?
I'm just gonna go over here.
It's gonna kill your download this map.
Let's just do something. Let's just do something. I don't see
sometimes you have to
for this image.
Sometimes you have to do like a select tool and then like select it, but like
what PDF or what browser are you using to read the PDF?
Yeah, actually that's a question.
Adobe.
That's why. Don't use Adobe.
Yeah.
Adobe PDF Reader is like the worst one.
Well, no, Adobe is the best if you pay for it. It's the worst if you don't.
Unironically, use Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge is one of the best PDF readers that exists. Yes. That's the only use for Microsoft Edge, in my opinion, is reading PDFs.
Yeah, like right-click and say "Open with Microsoft Edge."
Yeah.
And then you can do stuff like download. I technically use a different one. I use Foxit, but
Foxit's also pretty good.
yeah. Because I just got used to that before Microsoft Edge came out,
Yeah.
so I just continued using it.
Yeah, Microsoft Edge is my PDF reader because I'm never going to use it for anything else. And it's free.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, I'm just like, you're like, oh, you have to use the snip tool to cut out the map, and I'm like,
the problem with the dungeon that we're currently doing in Crimson Queen isn't necessarily that it's bad idea. It's certainly not very easy in mind. It's that Roll20 kind of sucks for maps that have a lot of moving parts to them.
It doesn't like dynamic maps. I
Yeah.
would 100% agree with that. This is actually probably, in fact, my biggest complaint and my biggest wish for Roll20 is multiple customizable layers. You can select who has access to layers. You can select, like, you can be like, okay, this is a GM layer, but I have like 3 of them. And then you can like basically change the layer to be like visible to players at a certain point. You know, it's like stuff like that.
What I really like about Foundry, even though Foundry is a very complicated program to use because it has a lot of working parts in it, the way it does maps is like perfect. It has everything you need for dynamic maps right there.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside is you have to learn how to do all of the character sheet stuff, which is going to get easier because I think they have an official 5e compendium now.
Okay.
Worry about that. I'm trying to figure all that stuff out. So couldn't get to work. But I'll figure it out. Eventually. Maybe.
You'll maybe learn.
You know, I try to learn, but my brain just doesn't sometimes work.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, because here's the thing, they probably do have it set up so that like the grid is a certain size. That's why I'm always so confused about how you have so much trouble like lining up the grid. Is because
No, the problem is a lot of times the multiple floors each have their grid aligned slightly differently.
Wait, do they?
They do! On the same map, they'll have a map of like 3 different floors, and if you try to look at the grids, they're close, but they're not quite matched up. So if you try to match up one of them, the other 2, the size is the same, but the alignment is just slightly off. And I'm like,
well,
ew. This time I would assume it would work really well or work a lot better in person because you have the map book.
And they also have, they have actually things you can buy that have like big maps and stuff, like map folios of these games. And you can just have the map folio out and be like, here's the map, I put it out there for everybody, you know, or like something like that. Yeah. Like, I like concepts like this dungeon, but it really calls for a point in time where the physical map is just kind of annoying to do.
Yeah.
And the theater of the mind will be so much better. But it's also like, it's this catch-22 of Pathfinder's a hard system to do theater of the mind for. You know, so it's sort of like, I guess you could arrange the rooms withdrawing something out when you need them to, if you can do combat. Because a lot of those rooms don't have combat. I'm going to admit.
Yeah, like, no, I totally agree.
I have to figure out things because you ended up in the cells, because that takes you away from where, like, basically, it was trying to figure out, because the Sphinx was basically hunting you in the thing. I had to figure out where the Sphinx was, which was not always easy to do with the movements and stuff of the thing. That's why I accidentally put the Sphinx in the wrong way, and I'm like, is this the place the Sphinx is supposed to be? I'm like, no, it's not. The Sphinx is supposed to be over here. Okay, wow, I can understand where this map is moving. Because, like, it's like, you know, it's like while you're moving these things and exploring, you're also being hunted down by creature kind of things, like, and dealing with traps, and that's the idea of the dungeon. It's an interesting concept. It's fucking hard to do. This is the thing I have to complain about this part of the adventure. It's hard to do, and I think that's the thing is, in either Theater of the Mind or Physical. Physical sucks because the turning. Theater of the Mind sucks because you kind of need the. This is too complex in maps and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
That's a different problem. Too complex maps, but it could be, or, you know, that could be an entirely different issue. But that might be a talk about another day. Maps that are too complex.
Mm.
I will say, I'll talk about this when we actually get to the week in tabletop section.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a thing that you have to recognize when Theater of the Mind is required, is decent, and when a map is required. What I mean by map is required is so we talk about 4th edition, a lot of their combat, especially against more than one enemy, you really need a map. A single enemy, you can usually get away with Theater of the Mind. I'm gonna admit, with single enemy, that's okay, I charge the enemy. Room. Yeah, I charge the enemy, or out in the open or something like that. That doesn't really matter about the terrain and stuff like that. It's I charge the enemy. Okay, great. Do I have to draw this out? No. Or I move around to flank the enemy. Great. Again, you could just say it and do it in that case again with one enemy. You don't get a lot of that stuff that you really need a map for World of Darkness. The 4th edition really need it. It's system also calls for it. It's a combination of system and situation. Oh, go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm someone who, if you can have a map of it, have a map of it. But I would agree that there are even times where it's detrimental. For example, I think maps are detrimental in World of Darkness type game, in World of Darkness, because it's just it's so conceptual. It's designed to not have a map in terms of combat. Yeah. It's weird in how you can, but it's kind of just why? It's better for a player to be oh hey, because when you get a map in a system like that, it actually detracts from it, because your players are oh, I don't see anything. Your players won't ask, oh, is there this thing I could use to do this? And you can go yes or no. But in a map, it's oh, I don't see it, I'm not going to ask about it.
I think in games where combat is there but less of a focus, it's ones that you have to use maps less. I'm going to tell you, Star Trek Adventures. I feel in most of the times where you're going to get into combat situations, you probably do not need a map, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, especially since that game is it should be very quick.
And in combats where distance is defined by not actual numbers too, because there's a lot of systems that actually do that. I'm at this range.
Yeah, a lot of the 2d20 stuff doesn't really benefit from maps because you have a range bands around your character, which is hard to do on a map.
Yeah.
Even ones that have more combat, I think this is the range bands.
Fallout 2d20 really is hard to do maps with.
Yeah. Range bands. I've actually tried to figure out how to do range bands at one point with a map. It's a mental activity I am trying to figure out how to do, because funny enough, it's used in Traveler for space fights. And I'm it'd be interesting to have. So I've run into this problem before where I'm I'd love to have maps, but this uses range bands, and to basically say, oh, this person is this distance from this person, or this range band from this person, but not this, but this person's a range band from this person. You can't just it's weird, because it's you can actually have non-realistic distances from each other based on the way movement works.
I think in situations where numbers matter more, then you're really getting into you're starting to get towards the direction of I need a physical map of something, whether it's in Roll 20, whether it's out on board, or something like that. Because I certainly have played a lot of Pathfinder without a map, and you can do it. It just sometimes requires mental leaps.
You have to forego something. That's what I was kind of saying. I may have over-exaggerated a bit, but yeah, you have to kind of forego certain things where it's all this probably would be a problem, but we'll just ignore it. There's definitely that kind of stuff you have to do with Pathfinder Theater of the Mind.
Again, it's also I'm not saying you need a map for these. I think it's just this is a situation that if you have the option of preparing a map in some way, you really sort of think about it, And I think that's the other thing too, because again, like, it's, do you have time if you're making your own maps to make your own map, or like skill? Both of those things are important.
Yep.
Or like if you're looking online, do you find a map that matches with what you want? That's another thing too. If you're like just finding one somewhere. So there's a lot of questions on that end, and then there's also like, are you presenting it in Roll20? Are you putting it in real life? These are also other questions that come to when you present the map. And
yes,
it's sort of like, I'm not saying like you gotta, but like, when you have that option, you should recognize when to use that option, and I think that's important.
Yeah, but and I think there's just a lot more. Ranger bands. I want to go back to that for a second, because it's like, the problem with ranger bands is generally they are not linear; they're exponential. It's like, but that actually matters, and that's, I think, the real issue. Anyway, I just was gonna comment on that, but then I was gonna say but then there's like other types of maps, like city maps and stuff, which I think in my or world maps, which for travelers, star maps. That's even another one, which I think are very important tools for players to understand, assuming that they have the ability to visualize the setting they are in. Now, that could depend, because like if your entire adventure takes place in a single house, you'll probably get that down fairly quickly with Theater of the Mind without having to like actually draw it out. You can describe it a number of times until it makes sense. Cities become a little bit more complicated, and it might be good to at least have an idea of where things are, but you can actually do hub ideas where it's like, there's this area and this area, so you don't have to draw it out, as long as they know the areas that exist. Like there's the common area, or the downtown area, and the uptown area, and the Chinatown area, or whatever.
I think it's also like the fact that there are some games that are much more real world, and that helps you too. Like when we talk about World of Darkness, it's places we know. It's I'm in New York City or something like that. Granted, the small micro map might be something that you'd have to describe, or people generally understand a city. And the same could be actually said, because Shadowrun is very much more like dark, futuristic, gritty version of what we have. So it's like, it's future New York City. We're like, okay, it's New York City, but this amount of years, there's some changes, but it's still New York City. I can still think of it, and I think that helps a lot of times, sometimes in these places because like, I think that's another one that like, I tend to just do Theater of Mind for like Shadowrun. There's a lot of crunchy numbers in Shadowrun, but like, again, it's one of those ones I feel like the need for a physical map can exist for certain battles and situations, but it doesn't always,
Yeah. And it's hard because, like, I know there are a lot of, people who may not have access to quick internet. So it's like, at that point, you kind of have to do Theater of the Mind. There are definitely some people. Yeah, there are a lot of situations where people,
In physical real life, I have done plenty of times, and it's not always fun. Built various maps out of things, from dice to Legos to drawing on a whiteboard.
Yeah,
you can do it all. It's not always easy.
Yeah.
Yep. But you don't pay like $60 to have a print shop print you out like a perfect map that you designed yourself on a Photoshop.
Blaze worked at a print shop many years ago. He did that for free for a map in the game he was running.
What the? No, that was someone else. Okay. I was thinking of someone else. Like... Anyway.
Numenor.
Yeah, but
I
yeah.
think that's kind of where I wanted to kind of put this one, because it was something that came to my mind as a topic.
Yeah.
Once we had our encounter, that it's the thing to keep in mind is, if you go to what is required, you look at what your game needs, look at what you can do, and then make an appropriate decision for you. And then, you still want to be good to your players as much as possible, but still remember yourself. Like, if you don't push yourself too much, if you can't, for whatever you need to do. Just, kind of find that balance. Because you want your players to have fun, But you don't want to push yourself too much and, like, you know, I can make all these separate low-key maps and just, at most, if you're using Rule 20, just draw them.
Yeah.
I draw the rule.
Yeah. I'm gonna give a point. Benefits of maps is that they give a concrete idea of what's going on and where you are, and they also like they don't leave as many questions for players as to what's around them. Downsides is it reduces creativity because players can't just make things up and ask for like random things to be around. It also kind of reduces the and Theater of the Mind also is better for honestly just I don't know. There's another one I had there, but I forgot it. So
as someone who can be bad at describing things sometimes, especially in stuff that I'm trying to make up on my own, where I can think of something, but I can't always express it correctly, sometimes having at least a little bit of a map, even just like a room layout, can help me. You know?
Yes.
Just like, here's this size of this room, now I understand and I can think in my brain, add in, like, you know, what's here and describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
Yeah, as weird as it sounds, I've heard a lot of people say that, like, even though they don't show their players' maps, they draw them out themselves, just in like a quick shorthand kind of thing, where it's like, I'm not going to show this to anyone, so it doesn't have to be good, but I drew it out for myself. That can also be helpful.
You, as the person running it, sometimes need to know more than other people, so keep your brain up.
Yep.
Anything else anybody want to add here, or should we move on to our...
Besides that second point that I completely forgot that I can't remember now, no, I'm good.
Let's talk about our week in tabletop. Did anybody do anything on Sunday last week?
No, I did not do anything Sunday.
Okay. Yeah, because we didn't have Joe. We're having Joe this week. How about Monday? I know I had one.
I'm pretty sure I had one. I was there.
I currently do 3 or 4 games in a row. Because I either do Sunday through Wednesday or Monday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
I realized this, that I've kind of like...
Yeah, we've kind of aligned our D&D that way.
I've front-loaded my week, basically, with stuff. Which is both good and bad.
I want to play more I want to play more RPGs.
I don't know if I've hit my player limit or something.
Oh no, I'm not asking for you guys. I'm just saying I should.
No, I mean for me doing games, I'm you're saying you want to do more, and I'm like
definitely hit mine.
I don't know if I'd rather switch one of the ones I'm a player in for being I'm running this game instead. I'm I don't know.
My max would be running 2. I definitely couldn't run more than 2.
I have run 2 games. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I could probably do 3. I've run 3 before. It's not terrible, but especially because it's relatively easy to put stuff together.
Yeah.
So that doesn't require a lot of work. So I feel like I could run 3 with a game like that. 2, 3 is the kind of max. Anyway, we had River's game. Where how did we do?
We had some downtime stuff where everyone failed their rolls because we can't roll.
We're really bad at those.
We're really bad at rolling. Everyone but me is failing their university classes.
I made the assumption, which I don't think River put forward, is I'm trying to learn an entirely new religious system.
From Faerun or some shit.
Yeah, so it's these are totally different gods with a totally different pantheon that works.
How do you not have a basic understanding, you freak?
I know. I don't apparently.
Everyone are garbage, and then we learned that there's a vampire who's killing people, and we went to go kill him. Yeah. We're probably gonna kill him next. Well, probably not gonna kill him next session because vampires, unless killed in specific ways, just kind of mist and go back to their coffin, which we don't know where that is.
Also, are we aware of how to kill a vampire permanently?
Probably not. We rolled like garbage.
We did roll really bad. Entertaining rolls. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think Lenny and I made the important checks of knowing what a vampire is.
that's a vampire. I'm like, oh, okay,
Oh, that
cool.
sounds like a vampire.
What's that?
What system does this game use?
This is 5e.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're magic college students.
Yeah.
Tantus is a freak. Tantus got hit by a bus in Faerun and is here now.
Technically speaking, I believe the thing is, because there's part of the story where you're supposed to, like, steal a powerful artifact from the forces of Tiamat, and a dragon attacks you, I'm like...
Someone just like, pointed at you and was, like, banished.
I'm assuming what happened to me is the dragon, like, hit me with a breath weapon while I was holding the artifact, and it just basically exploded, and rather than dying, I got teleported to another universe.
You literally are an isekai character.
That was my thought pattern, because these are things that happen in the Tiamat book. You got to steal an artifact and fight a dragon.
Funny, because we all joked about making isekai characters, and then you showed up in call when all of our characters were like, yeah, my idea is isekai.
I didn't even hear that about the joke, so I just did that, man.
Yeah, every single one of us joked that we were going to just be isekai into this setting.
Because I was like, what the hell can I play? And I'm like, I would want to play Parent again. I'm like, why don't I... That was my thought pattern. I'm just like, why don't I just actually play the same character again? And I'm like, can I do that?
This is a rabbit person.
Then we had Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Where we
did stuff.
I
You all came into that session with a specific vibe, apparently.
I am unaware of that vibe, I gotta be honest. My neutrality...
half the party came in super horny.
Oh, that's right. Look, this is something that, like, you know, people have brought up, but I just hadn't really mentioned. Is because I'm a goddamn fae. I'm probably the most promiscuous character of them all. And I'm like, so I'm like, I probably just think of, like, you know, cardinal relations as like a handshake, you know. So I'm like, yeah, okay, why aren't you just doing stuff, you know? I'm like, I tried.
Did you just call it cardinal relations?
Yeah, it's when you go, cardinal, you know?
Okay.
Like the bird. Right. Because birds fuck.
I said it wrong. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you guys did that.
Cardinal.
I know what you meant.
Yeah, we know what you meant. yeah, like the NFL team.
Anyway,
yeah, you guys
just like my brain for a second was just like, yeah, wait, what?
Yeah, you guys were like super horny in a tavern, and then I quickly brushed past that because I did not want to deal with that. And then, you know, the fucking bar Jay showed us.
That's using the Steelers logo, was it?
Yeah, it just uses the Steelers logo.
Oh my god!
What a terrible bar. Yeah, you guys you guys captured a worm man, and he hates you, and he's gonna kill you. He's like a CR-16.
I don't know why we got into a fight with the worm man, but it was like...
Oh, because you discovered that there's weird cultists, and instead of investigating, you guys just went up to it and ripped his mask off, and he turned into worms.
Hey, we just got into a fight with the worm man.
You guys, like, saw a dude, and were like, we're gonna fight this guy.
Look, I didn't. I just went along.
They are evil, but the process of getting to knowing they exist to fighting them was like 5 seconds where you're like, I'm gonna run with this guy and I'm gonna rip his stupid mask off.
That was the process, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
You're gonna fight a worm cultist.
When this is the Oni?
Yeah, it's because, I mean, Lightning does come up with the best plans, but because they are funny. However, it may not be in your best interest to always listen to the person who wants to just hit everyone at the first instance.
I know what you're talking about. It's a great idea. It'll go wonderful.
I guess I can just cross off all social encounters now, because it's going to end... Yeah, I'm not going to have any villains have any monologues, because you're just going to hit them with a sword immediately. Yeah, I'm going to fight a worm dude next session, and I think you're going to go inside of a book.
We'll see how it goes.
I have plans for the book dungeon. I have to prep the book dungeon, because it's going to be a long one.
Ooh.
It's also entirely optional.
I'm just gonna go along with the team because honestly, that's kind of what my character does.
I think people just don't want to deal with worms right now. Well, I think the man getting his mask ripped off and then just becoming a pile of worms was too much for a couple of characters.
It was pretty out there.
I'll just throw the worm that walks at you, which is like a CR30 monster or some shit. You guys can. You're like level 11. You can fight him.
Totally. Anyway, then we had Wednesday.
Yes.
I both love and hate the idea of the dungeon. I think we talked about it earlier.
The idea is so good, and then it's also bad because the whole dungeon is a puzzle.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know. I'm excited for a puzzle dungeon. I was keeping track of like where the things were pointing and stuff on my own.
Here's why I'm not excited for a puzzle dungeon, because we basically, for most of the session, stood in one room and argued on what to do in the dungeon.
It was, most of that was, should we rest or not? I feel it wasn't how should we handle the dungeon. It was like,
just, man.
I didn't think about it at the time, but I could have just said, like, you guys could just rest before you went here.
There's a lot of over-planning.
And
a lot of debate over something very simple.
Yeah. I overplan. I mean, I was just like, I was down with resting. Who wasn't?
The problem is Joe was arguing with himself. We were all okay with resting.
He kind of was a little bit.
Over planning definitely can draw things out. But the thing is, I was hoping.
I wouldn't even call it over planning. Again, I wouldn't even call it over planning. It was one decision that was all everyone was all yeah, we could, and then Joe was all do we want to or do we not?
Yeah,
I think we should. I think we shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what resting really gave us. We could have just sat down for an hour and been fine. We didn't have to sleep.
Some of you suffered from
but that goes away in an hour.
Yeah. That would have gone away in an hour.
Unless that version says something else specifically.
But
I don't know what lasts an hour. It was the actual spell.
The
Sphinx can create signals.
I'm just gonna tell you right now, Tantus, if I overcome that Sphinx's spell resist, I'm pretty sure it's just gone from the encounter. Because I'm just gonna dismiss it. I'm just gonna send it to another plane.
It will just go back to hell.
Yeah, I'm just gonna send it back to hell.
I think that is just something you could do that would get rid of it.
Yeah.
It could go back to hell. There's a 20% chance it goes to a different random plane. That is not the current plane it's on.
And I will say, I was totally down with moving forward. That's the one thing for me, is I was down with moving forward until we reached a point where we didn't know how the mechanisms would work, per se. I mean, and I'm you know what? I think it's better to go back and rest. So that way, because we don't know if we'll be able to leave easily if we need to. That was my thought. It's let's be at full then. Yeah. That's why I kind of argued it once we were in there and I realized how the dungeon worked.
Yeah, so. I mean, there was a little bit of there was parts of this I did and parts of this that actually kind of were kind of interesting, because a lot of this dungeon stuff is set up because I gotta be honest, they give me here's all the stuff that happens if your players make a deal with the Arconus, again, the entire story is it's very easily yeah, he wants you to go down here and go through the labyrinth, whether you live or die. Doesn't really matter to him,
Yeah.
But you're not really supposed to, unless you go guns blazing, fight that entire all the areas. I have a whole bunch of creatures and things that are throughout the dungeon, guardians and stuff that are throughout the mansion and stuff. But I'm also 95% of this you're probably not going to deal with, because honestly speaking.
Oh yeah, so if we went guns blazing into the mansion, that's a whole extra part we were skipping.
A whole another dungeon, basically.
Yeah. it'd be like double the dungeon. And I think the thing is like they do give opportunities in the way they write to not do that, but they're also like, hey, sometimes your players might do shit like this. This is the stats for it.
Yeah.
They kind of do that there, and I'm like, this is the
that
nicest that I like this.
That kind of makes sense why the book feels so short, because they kind of planned out dungeons that are optional.
Are a little bit optional because you can kind of just make deals with all these people.
Yeah. I think that's the thing about working with nobility and like people that are like mostly reasonable. Like Pilks would have been a little harder to deal with because he's a little less reasonable. He's kind of insane.
I don't think there was any option in which we ever sided or tried to talk to that guy.
I mean, if you'd done his stupid,
like,
horrible sports game, you could have at least gotten like into a position to just like literally assassinate him, and as soon as he's dead, like everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Except
as weird as it sounds, we picked probably the two shortest options, which was just like going guns blazing to Pilts, because I think trying to socialize there would have actually just made a whole extra like set of events happen, which would have been just this whole extra bit. So it's like that was the longer path, and then for this, the going in guns blazing would have been the longer path, and we decided to do what he wanted and talk it out and blah blah blah, and then go underneath. So it's like we kind of picked the shorter path for both options.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
I liked the fight in the prison room.
That was an
I thought that was fun.
Yeah, I think that one I do actually like that ended up that way, because it became sort of like a, it's, and like I explained it later on because it's probably not going to matter that like if like the one lever is down, you get teleported to prison cells. If it's up, you get teleported to other places in the labyrinth. So it's sort of like it's meant that it is in trap form into like so like if someone wants to use them, they know the secret of it, but. Making it that you all get teleported there, it accelerated the story a lot. And fighting your way out of, like, trying to break your way out of prison cells to then fight something, that was actually a really cool idea. And, like, it ended up being, like, I was worried about it, but it ended up being really cool.
Very happy that none of you guys knew you could dimension door objects.
I forgot about that. I remembered that as soon as you mentioned it, I'm like, oh, yeah!
Yeah, in Pathfinder, you can grab objects and leave.
Yeah, you specifically cannot in D&D.
In 5e, you cannot. It's not like a particularly useful ability in a lot of cases. It can be. It has utility.
It's very I mean, like, and you used it for utility in combat.
Yeah, like if we had a wizard in Carrion Crown, we could have gotten that adamantine trapdoor out of the castle.
It might have been too heavy.
It probably would have been too heavy, because I think it was like 2,000 pounds.
I think it's weight limit for the teleportation.
It's size limit, I think, and up to like 4 or 5 times your carry weight. It has very specific wording.
Yeah, I got pummeled by that person. I'm
that
like,
just kind of happens.
Even an AC of 24, or even an AC of 26 was like not high enough for this character.
It comes to a point in Pathfinder where your AC number just doesn't matter. You're gonna get hit.
Also, I'm going to tell you, especially when you fight outsiders and dragons, they just hit you.
Outsiders have such insane to hit bonuses.
If I took a creature of similar CR, it probably would have been less to hit you, like a human with class levels, because outsiders usually have more.
I saw those to hits. I mean, like they were kind of ridiculous as far as I'm aware.
They have usually more hit dice than they have CR, and they have full base attack bonus with every hit dice. Outsiders are mean.
The downside to outsiders existing is most of them can just be banished, like, and the fight ends immediately, because most of them don't have plane shift spells.
Yeah.
Like dragons are just hard to fight because it's a dragon. That's kind of like the big dude in these games.
So yeah, it's certainly interesting, and
base attack bonus equal total hit dice. And like, what was that thing's hit dice?
Oh god.
Because like hit dice tends to outpace levels for characters.
Yeah. What was she?
She was a Absunda Ashura, CR9. Okay?
Her hit die was 12, I think.
Which would have given her a base attack of 12.
Yeah, like
Now,
we're
looking at her,
9.
looking at her. Oh, actually, so
Yep.
looking at her.
12.
Assuming she uses the CR9 stat block.
Yep. So 12 hit dice. And they're D10s.
Her melee listed here is for her longsword is, I don't know if this is correct, is 20.
Yep. She was using power attack.
She was power attacking, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah, she does have power attack. But
Yep.
any melee character just has power attack because it's required for so many feats down the line.
And like, I think this power attack is really cool. It used a lot because it does a lot
Oh,
of
she's
damage.
spring attack. That's fancy.
Mm.
Too bad she never had to use it.
And cleave too. All around vision. She can't be flanked. That didn't come up. It used disease, curses, and poison.
Very specific.
Yeah. Regeneration 5 good, DR 10 good, and SR 20. So not a lot of stuff. She was taking a lot less damage from a lot of sources because it's DR good.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very hard to get alignment.
But yes.
Oh yeah, DR10. Jeez.
DR10.
Let's say a fighter, a CR9 fighter would have been level 10, which was a base attack of 10, and would probably maybe have a similar strength. Would have had more feats, so would have given more bonuses, but still, nonetheless, it's sort of like, yeah, given that a fighter character probably would have been closer to like 15, maybe 16 or 17. That without using power attack, and that little bit of difference makes a big thing. That's why it makes Outsiders so mean.
Yeah, and like for me, what's interesting is the DR is actually kind of the counter to my build because like I can attack a whole shit ton, but it's going to be a lot of chip damage.
DR is hard to overcome. You kind of have to just like go all in on spells or buying weapons.
Yeah.
Especially DR. Alignment DR is probably one of the harder ones to deal with, but it's also one of the rarer DRs.
Yeah, usually only Outsiders have it most of the time. You're mostly going to get things.
See,
like
the one point where a paladin would come in handy would be dealing with Outsider DR. But unfortunately, paladins don't fit most campaigns. Because you have to be lawful good, and I hate it.
And I think most of the time you're not going to get a lot of these type of battles anyway. Like,
no,
I think this is the most amount of Outsiders right now, and I think there might be a few others here and there, but this is like the most of it, which is because it's like some native Outsiders to this plane summoning some other Outsiders, you know.
I feel like, realistically, there's maybe one other point where we're going to deal with Outsiders. And that's only because the Queen Lady has potentially made a pact with devil shit.
You're actually kind of going to learn what happened really soon because Neo Landis kind of knows
I'm thinking she's either like just taking a shitload of magic items, which is possible, or she's made some kind of deal with some kind of horrible cursed demon ghost.
I think she's made some kind of deal with an entity that lives in the pyramid. That's my guess.
We will learn probably in the next adventure at the beginning of it, but I will tell you effectively, she made no deal.
Yeah, I just assume she's like taking control of something.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Don't say too much. We'll find out.
Again, Neo Landis knows everything.
I will.
Yeah,
say,
but we'll find out in character.
If you run a game where I can play a paladin, I will only play a paladin if you let me play the Holy Guns archetype.
I knew someone that played that. It was fun, but it was weird too.
I'm just gonna I have the power of gun.
Power of gun is fun. Yeah, Lightning. I think you got some cleric's good because they got some spells which can overcome mind.
Paladin,
sometimes some
cleric. Yeah, there are good cleric spells for that.
Yeah.
I can't really do much. I'm a wizard. My ability is to blow things up or buff the other people. Which, admittedly, I should have cast haste first, but I didn't feel like it.
Outsiders.
I thought the pit was funnier.
The pit was pretty funny. The thing is, like,
They'd force her to use her teleport.
It tells her to use her teleport, and I just positioned her in an interesting spot. Because the other thing that she had kind of as an option, too, is she also had haste.
There was a world where if I could get the monk out of the cell, he has Hurricane Punch, when shoves people 5 foot back.
Shoved her back into the pit.
I would just kept shoving her into the pit. It would be annoying.
Eventually, she would have cast.
She would have just gone somewhere else. But it eats actions.
She's got Feather Fall at will.
Makes sense.
So that's what she is. See Invisibility. She could cast Spider Climb. And then 3 times per day, Deeper Darkness, Levitate, and Rainbow Pattern. And once per day was the Haste Hold Monster, which she used on
Tavel, who is probably doing the most damage.
Tavel, even with the damage reduction, Tavel was still.
That's the thing about Tavel's range build, which is the one I recommend to Lynn. It just bypasses DR by just shooting a lot of arrows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She could have tried summoning some other things, but I'm like, I don't want to put more monsters on the board. It's percentage chance. It feels like.
I'm realizing I'm in that tough situation where I should probably take spell penetration, but I don't know if spell resistance is going to come up anymore. It doesn't come up in most campaigns. It doesn't come up in most campaigns.
I feel like we're gonna fight like demons and stuff though, which I feel like will have spell resistance.
I don't think we're gonna fight demons. Devils potentially.
Devils, sorry, I meant devils.
Maybe some undead.
Dragons sometimes have spell resistance.
I don't know. I'd be a little surprised if we fight a dragon.
Yeah, full base attack bonus is only for outsiders. Monstrous humanoids, magical beasts, dragons, and constructs.
Yeah, but most of those have other things that make up for like having problems. Like outsiders also get all good saves.
Yeah,
and also oftentimes have a massive amount of skill points, have feats, have spell resistance usually, have damage reduction usually, so immunities.
D10.
Outsiders are just outsiders are pretty strong, but they need to be because again, if they fail one save, they're removed from the encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Just looking at book 4, and so far, I was just looking through it for what you find. It's a lot of people.
That's just how it goes. Most events it's just dudes.
Yep.
Just dudes. Skull and Shackles was all dudes, and then some Cyclopses, and a dragon turtle for some reason.
Yeah, maybe I should have gone for the grapple build. Oh well.
Grapple build is kind of a meme. It's a funny meme though.
Yeah, but it's like if it's a mostly human campaign, it actually might be good.
It's unironically a pretty good build, especially if you do it on like a brawler.
Well, I would have done my weird one, which would have been like basically dragon big, then I grapple on like, and then so it's like then I attack a bunch, and then I grapple with like a bite and stuff. It was a idea.
I found some places that have some monsters. But there's a lot of people in the back end of the book has an area where you fight some monsters.
I mean, yeah, that's gonna happen.
I mean, I'll have spell penetration eventually because I'm just kind of out of feats to take at this point.
I mean, the entire point of book 4 will be meeting with the Shuanti people and also then getting them on your side. So that's why you're dealing with a lot of people. You're probably like not necessarily killing them, but maybe doing like combats and stuff like that, or other things to prove your worth or reason to be there.
Yeah.
There's also like I'm not admit. The 2 Shuanti characters help, but they also tend to be slightly more outsider than your average Shuanti because we have the adopted one and the guy that was exiled.
Yeah.
Monk was also exiled, but he's not going to be in the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. I agree. It's an uphill battle, but it will make things more interesting, I think, because you can do a lot of. Yeah.
You got a good start for the. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. It's a good start, but we're still gonna have to prove ourselves, which means it's not like an instant win, which I kind of like. It's gonna be a challenge in a way, but also we got a foothold. So it's almost gonna be it's almost like, I wonder how much it actually is prepared for that, the book.
It might mention a few things because there is the option of being a Shuanti.
I know.
So we have to really dive in. But I'll read through it a little bit here. I'll probably start going through that this tomorrow or something and reading through it because I'll have to see that.
It is rapidly approaching.
Yep. Honestly speaking, I think I've said like you got maybe 1 or 2 more sessions. I feel like at this point in time because I don't know how much you're gonna do like more in the. You've cut a lot through a lot of the dungeons. You found Neil. Yes, Ben Carlos supposed to be located, but you've got like half of what you needed to do. Which I'm going to tell you, you'll find out next session very easily. This is not really a secret because you'll run into it. I don't know. I'll leave something because it'll be interesting. There is something that that will come up that'll be interesting. But this is minor. That'll be interesting. So there'll be a lot of interesting things next session. Anyway,
yeah.
Anybody do anything Thursday or Friday?
No, I did not.
I played a game of Magic with Joe. We each chose some random decks. Unfortunately, we only played one game. He got land flooded, so it didn't really help him. And I chose a random deck from the website that we were using from Moxfield. And mine was an interesting one because it was centered around this one legendary who, when you get tokens into play, you get extra tokens, and any time tokens enter into play, an opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And so the entire thing was there was a lot of creatures that when they die you get tokens, and you had kill spells to kill your own creatures that would also give you tokens. So you'd murder your own stuff, get tokens, and so you get like multiple sets of tokens over and over again. It was kind of this like interesting, like kind of like weird, like maps, clues, monster tokens, and stuff like that. It was a very interesting deck, and I could see where it was going. I don't know if it would be great in multiplayer, but it was an interesting thing to try out. A black-white deck. It was kind of fun. And I looked for a standard deck that only cost like $150 rather than one that cost goddamn like $300 or $400 when I was looking through there for a deck to play. A lot of them are the expensive standard decks. So that was fun to do. I'll probably have to do more Magic at some point in time. It's fun to pick it up here. If that was it for our week, I think we can call it here. That was an exciting episode. We had some good, deeper discussion topics. There's some adventures this week. If you want to go check that stuff out, like Crimson Queen is actually up as of today. I was going to put it up yesterday, but I had a little issue, so I put it up today. That was just so you can go check out that episode from this week. Momo, do you have anything to short up?
So.
And then Worm, you definitely have something to shout out. You usually do.
Yep, I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. And on Blue Sky. And I'll be streaming tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. PDT.
Nice. Myself, Dracovin. I do a lot of stuff during the week. Usually I stream Mondays to Saturdays. Tabletop stuff, if you're looking for that. Is Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, with Saturdays backup day. This show every Saturday at 6 p.m. EST. So if you want to check us out next week also, that's when we'll start. And of course, Crimson Queen on Wednesdays at also EST. We'll play some more Pathfinder First Edition, some more adapted Crimson Throne. I think that's all the shoutouts. I have social media linked below in both Twitter description or YouTube description. And yeah. Anyway, thank you once again to my 2 friends and cohorts, Momo, Worm, for joining me. Thank you for Lightning for hanging out and chat. And giving us some helpful insights into the week also and stuff. You're only in chat. You count. I think you've shown up at least one episode in the past, at least. So you can't be here. You can't just physically be here. So you're spiritually with us. And anyway, we're getting going. Until the next time, everybody. Have a good one and goodbye.
Bye.